Hey guys, I'm in my dining room today. I'm potting up some of my pepper plants. The irrigation is not in the garden yet. We're still working on getting that drip line in and connected, as well as my herbicide tests are not done. So I don't know where the best places are to plant out my really sensitive crops like my nightshades. So I can't get these guys in the ground yet. So it's a super rainy day today, and I thought that I would up pot these guys. It was never my intent to up pot any of them, but I want to give them the best chance that I can. So while I was doing that, I thought that I would just chit chat with y'all a little bit. A couple of my pepper plants too are starting to get small little flowers on them. And so what I'm doing there when I see that is I'll just pinch those off. And it's very important that you do that at this stage because you really want your peppers to focus on root production. Although that small little flower will give you a pepper sooner in the season, it won't allow the plant to really reach its full potential and grow into a nice large plant to give you as much of a harvest as it possibly could. When you leave that little flower on there and it produces fruit early, it results in a bit of a stunted plant, and you just won't get the full production out of this guy that you would if you had pinched those off. So make sure that you're doing that early in the season until these guys are a pretty good size. You really don't want them to producing too early. You also really don't want to put these guys out until your nighttime temperatures are over 50 to 55 degrees. If you do put them out and you kind of get cold at night, it can stunt them, and they will still produce for you, but it will be a slower process. So you really want to keep these guys inside and nice and warm until that time period comes when your nighttime temperatures are above 50 or 55 degrees. But I wanted to talk to you guys today while I kind of did this little bit of a task here. I said to Nate the other night, geez, when do you think we're going to see these inflation numbers stop? I'm very frugal and very cheap. So when I see these prices going up, I either, depending on the day, I will either stock up on something because I'm afraid that the price is going to just continue to rise, or I'll hold off and say, I'm just going to wait. Maybe that'll fluctuate. Maybe it'll come down a little bit. And he said to me, we're not going to see inflation go back down. And it kind of got me thinking, and we talked a little bit. And he said, now housing values are going down. And, over time, if you look on Zillow, you can see your house's value, go up or down. And we're seeing the house values go down because demand's going down because the interest rates are sky high. So, of course, your house values are going down. But when you look at food and you look at certain categories of things, those are not going to come down anytime soon. So with food, everybody needs food, right? So there's always a demand there. With shortages that we've seen over the last 2 years, I kind of feel like that increases people's desire to have that item. So they're buying more. And then you have people like you and me who are trying to prepare. And so if we see an item that we need, instead of just buying 1 or 2, maybe we're buying 5 or 6. I know for me, for example, for the preserving year, I know that I'm buying 2 years worth of preserving supplies because I just don't know what next year is going to hold. Anyways, with all of that demand either staying the same or increasing, and the cost of the goods and the cost to make the goods going up, inflation on those items, food and, let's say, homesteading supplies and food preservation supplies and animal supplies, those things are not going to come down anytime soon. And so Nate kind of opened my eyes to that. I guess I still sort of had a glimmer of hope that we would trend out of this high inflation that we have been seeing over the past year and a half or so. But it doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm going to encourage you guys to stock up as well. I'm also going to encourage you guys that if you are not growing a huge garden this year, there is no shame in going to the store and buying canned goods or buying, stuff from farmers markets to preserve. It doesn't have to be your own food, and that's totally fine. Just get some stuff up on the shelf, get some things that are going to last and feed your family. So guys, get what you need, get it early. For your canning supplies, you know, if you need to buy those flat lids in bulk, you're going to end up saving yourself some money. I'm buying 1,000 at a time, and I'm getting those right now from Lehman's. They have a great brand on there called Superb, and I actually really, really like it. I do have a bit of the Ball flat lids, and I like those, but the Superb ones seem like they're a better quality. And by buying them in bulk, I'm getting them at a cheaper price. So get that kind of stuff. Also, you know, get your lemon juice, get your vinegar, get your salt, your sugar, your spices, get all of that stuff now so that when this season gets into full force, you have that already on hand. Also, I do a lot of pie fillings, so Clear Gel is a really great thing to have. It's a modified cornstarch, and so it's a thickening agent for your pies. So when you go to make your pie, you open that jar up, you don't have to add in anything to thicken that pie filling. It's already ready to go for you. So that's something to think about as well. Also, depending on what type of canner you're using, you know, if you need to get new gaskets or get that tested, or, you know, those little jiggler weights or whatever, just make sure that you have everything ready to go for this season, as well as supplies maybe for this season and maybe even the next too, depending on how far you kind of want to go with it and what kind of resources you have to put towards that. I'm also making sure that I have my seeds for this fall garden as well as for next summer. Now, there are the occasional seed that really doesn't keep well, like corn, for instance, loses a bit of its germination. Also, if you're doing peanuts, that one's really not gonna keep over a year. But most of your seeds will do just fine as long as you store them in the proper way, you know, keeping them dry, keeping them out of the sunlight. Some people like to actually keep them in the freezer. So just make sure that you're preparing that way as well. And then also, you really want to make sure that if you are growing your own food this year, that you have a plan of what you're doing. So when you start bringing in bushel upon bushel upon bushel of tomato, the last thing you need to be doing is going into your cabinet and looking at recipes, or going online and trying to find the best marinara sauce, or how to do diced tomatoes, or maybe a salsa recipe. You need to know up front what you're doing. So make sure that you have all your recipe books. You know, you can get those on Amazon. You can go to the library, borrow them from friends, go on YouTube, look at online recipes and blogs, things like that, and try to find the best recipe with the ingredients that you think are going to be good so that you have that ready to go. And also make sure that you know what you're doing with each item. Like, for instance, I know with my broccoli, it's going to be fresh eating, and then it's going to be blanching it and freezing it. The same with my peas, fresh eating, blanching, and freezing for preservation. With my corn, I will go ahead and freeze some of that as corn on the cob. I will freeze some of that cut off the cob, and then I'll also can that. So I know what I'm doing with every item that I'm bringing into my house. So there's no thought put into that. There's no guessing. There's no days upon days spent researching and trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with my tomatoes. I know with my tomatoes, I'm doing marinara sauce. I'm doing diced tomatoes. I'm doing tomato sauce. I'm doing salsa. I might even do a meat sauce this year with that to put on my shelf. So I know that I'm doing all of those things. I know I'm not doing tomato paste because that's just too much of a time involved, and I can easily buy that at the store. So I know I'm going to do that. But my peppers, they will mostly get canned. We'll do some pickled peppers. We will also do some peppers with onions canned, and they make a really yummy broth. And you can add that stuff into soups and recipes, so that's a really good way to do it. I know I'll also dehydrate a lot of these. That's an awesome way to preserve these guys. So yeah, just get a plan in place, guys, because without a plan, you will not be as successful as you could have been. I will tell you that there is just so much work that goes into growing your own food. The videos that I post where you guys see me, you know, planting out something here or prepping the garden in this way, although it might be an 8-minute video that you're watching on YouTube, these tasks can take me anywhere between 4 to 10 hours, depending on what else I have going on during the day, how much prep work I need to do before I start that camera. All of those things you really need to take into consideration. You're not going to have the time if you're growing a big garden Even small gardens planted in the right way with the right soil and everything can give you huge harvests. So just make sure that you are prepared. You don't want to get into a situation where you have so much coming in that either it's sitting on your counter and spoiling, or you're just giving it away. And although it is great to share with friends and family, you need to be making sure that you've got your plan in place first, so that if hard times do come, you've got enough put away for your family and maybe even some for friends and neighbors. So yeah, anyways guys, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. We are wet and rainy here. We need the rain, but also it's been pretty dreary. So I can't wait to see the sunshine again in a few days. But I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Keep preparing, keep planning, keep getting everything in place that you need to make you successful. It's going to make your life a heck of a lot easier, I promise. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in what I'm doing with some of my stuff this year, ask me. I'm happy to tell you, happy to make a video on that. But anyways, guys, enjoy the rest of your day.